Welcome. Thank you guys for being with us. We appreciate it. So with that, I am going to each panel, like whichever one, we can go with Ms. Kim first. You can kind of give your background in your journey and just a short commentary on your current wellness or beauty industry business.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for having me to the Nigerian American Multicultural Council. Thank you for all the work that you're doing. Congratulations. Can we just give it up for 10 years?
10 years.
That's not easy. That's not easy. I mean, to consistently do, girl, I try diets all the time. So to do something 10 days, 10 years, okay, that is just really good, right? But no, that is so good. And so congratulations, we honor that and we celebrate that now and throughout this year. Thank you, Rita, for the amazing introduction. And I just really sincerely feel grateful for all of you. And the contributions that you've made for us to have a little bit more freedom right now, just a little bit more in the lives that you've saved. So thank my panelists, my co-panelists here today, and you, Rita, as well, and anyone else in the audience who's contributed. But I'll say that the industry for me is so funny because I grew up in Houston. And at 16, I was actually kicked out of high school. And looking at it at 21, I opened up a business. And a lot can happen in 5 years. And I share that because sometimes when we talk, you almost sound like you've always had it together. And I just want to be very clear that I have not always had it together. And I still don't have it together now. I just continue to persevere, right? And continue to persevere through. So in our industry, I found out when I was in college, I went to school in Atlanta, Georgia. I went to Clark Atlanta University. And when I was there, I had to get a job to help to pay for me to be at college. And I ended up getting a job at the makeup counter and had never touched anybody's face ever before. But they're the only people that hired me. So I tried it, but like a month into the job, my manager came to me and said, "What are you telling these women? What are you saying?" And I was like, "What?" And she was like, "You're selling more makeup than me, and you don't even know what you're doing. So like, what are you telling them?" And I said, "You know what? I fell in love with making women feel good about themselves. I fell in love with women smiling. I fell in love with women feeling good. Like I fell in love with that." And so I worked it in my senior year in college. Instead of going to go get a job, I made myself one. And when I remember being in alternative school, when I got kicked out of high school, and I remember them labeling us at risk. And I remember asking my teacher, "What does that mean? They keep calling us at-risk students. What are they talking about?" And they're like, "You're on your way to juvenile." They're like, "You're not going to become a productive citizen. You're at risk for not becoming a productive citizen." And so I took that label and made it my sort of personal mantra that I was take all the risk. And so at 21, I opened up my own makeup shop in Sharpstown Mall. Anybody remember Sharpstown?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, we remember good old days. And so we were there, and I wanted to just have a place where women that look like me would be celebrated, because in the beauty industry, we were not. And so that's what I opened it up to do. Started doing a lot of research around ingredients. 75% of beauty products marketed to women of color are toxic. And I wanted to do something about it. And so I met my chemist who had retired from Estee Lauder on a faith trip to New York, and we started to work on products. So that's a little bit of my background, a little bit where I come from, and hopefully it just gives you a little insight into who I am.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your introduction, and it's such a pleasure and an honor having you here with us today. Awesome. Thank you so much. Now I'm going to pass it on to the doctors, and I'll let you guys choose who wants to go first.
All right. So for me, I think a lot of times the biggest question people have is how, you're an anesthesiologist and end up in this whole wellness and natural medicine stuff. And so, I mean, my journey through conventional medicine was, routine in terms of going to medical school and getting that together. But as I stayed more in the conventional medicine world, I started to realize that a lot of people were getting sicker and sicker, and they kept putting more prescription medicines and more prescription medicines, and something wasn't adding up. And the cost of the healthcare system was just abysmal. And then what happened was I had my kids, got married, had my kids, and they started having their issues and having the conventional medicine doctors, my colleagues and friends, telling me things like my son was never going to have a normal life. He had had 3 ear surgeries at the time. And they said, he was going to need surgeries the rest of his life, and my daughter was going to need medication the rest of her life. And something in me then finally broke. And I was like, something's not adding up. And, I had to sit down for a while. I did a lot of praying, and I think God just opened up a lot to me. Because when I initially wanted to be a doctor at a young age, I was very into plants and healing. I was reading yoga books in Nigeria by the time I was 8 years old that my mom had sitting around, and a lot of energy medicine stuff. And just sitting down, thinking about all that stuff opened up to me. And I started researching and using a lot more natural remedies, doing a lot more of the energy medicine, even paying attention to my dreams. And it just opened up a whole world for me and my kids, and healing through that. And they're both very wonderful, healthy kids, intelligent, doing well, no problems. My son never needed another surgery in his life after that again. And just realizing that, what am I doing here in conventional medicine when there's this other bridge? And it's not that conventional medicine doesn't have its place, but the missing piece that was a big deal for people not being aware of could be very devastating to their lives. And I wanted to be part of that bridge. I wanted to be part of that healing process and bringing that in. And I wasn't going to let any label of what I was in the operating room stop me. And so I just went head on in. It's been about almost 8-9 years now, and been doing that and seeing how that's absolutely changed people, talking to people even in the anesthesia when they come for surgery, and just trying to get people more aware that, especially with what I do with natural medicine, it's not just about getting better and, when you're sick, but the big part is what you're doing when you are well to make sure you don't go down that road, because there's a lot of myths that we have about aging and getting sick, and the things that come with that absolutely do not have to take place if we put all these other practices in place. So that's me and my mission. And I try to put all that together in my practice with people, but also a very big component, I would say at least 80%, is the mental and emotional wellness that comes into it, because that plays a big part in the choices you make for your health, for your wellness, for your career, all of that stuff. So I'm very big on the mental and emotional wellness, which plays a lot bigger role, people think, in the whole health and wellness stuff. So that's me.
Thank you for coming today.
You're welcome.
All right, so thank you guys for having me. Kechi, thanks for making this more of a power couple thing. So to go back to how I got to where I am today, the key word is root cause. The reason for that is the person I have right next to me here. I've always been into fitness, working out. My dad's here, and he could attest to that, because he exposed us to a lot of variety of sports as a kid. So there was from tennis to soccer to basketball. He gave us options. He never forced us to pick one, but we just gravitated to whatever worked for us. I was a really, really good swimmer, even as a kid. From probably 7 years old growing up, we're winning medals with Shell. We're going to competition. So from there, when you pick up that athlete's mindset, it always stays with you, even as you get older. So that followed me with sports. I always was active in some way or another. So as we moved on, I wanted to find a way that I can incorporate it into my life, but make it more of a lifestyle to where I'm helping people. and not such as personal training, but more in a deeper sense. So going ahead and picking physical therapy as a profession, then there was no clarity in exactly which part of it I wanted to do. Actually, my first choice was to be a neurophysical therapist. I really focused and worked with patients that had strokes and TBIs. And I did that for a while, but I just realized that I wasn't getting that satisfaction. It was great to help people because those people really need a lot of help. So when I got into the orthopedic setting, I noticed I really thrived in hands-on when I dealt with patients that had a lot of pain issues. So I throw my focus more into patients with pain that are recovering from orthopedic surgeries. And that is where that kind of path took me down. And so I told her years ago that we're going to build something. And she already had that in mind, but over the years, we figured things were going to come together somehow, and just organically, just things started to flow. Now, where we are with our own business is the difference in working the way you want to work and how you want to practice, especially physical therapy. Most of the perception people have is it's an exercise-based profession, which is very far from the truth, because the majority of people we see is a tag team event, and that's where our business comes in. There are medical people that usually have some other pain or some orthopedic issue. So we work on both the inside and both the outside, so spiritual, but as much as musculoskeletal as possible. So we work to get you to that place where you're healed wholly. And I cannot get that in the regular physical therapy setting. With our clinic, what we offer, we do detox, dry needling, cupping, extensive things that you would not see on an insurance card. The point is to make sure I heal people instead of having people go to therapy for 3 to 6 months. You come to me for 8 to 12 visits, and we get you where you're supposed to be. So the driving force for me is healing. That's what has always been driving. There's the athletic side to it, but finding that balance between being able to heal and also just treat people the way I want to is what has brought me to where I am today.
Awesome. Thank you so much. We're so glad to have you and your wife here with us today. Before we kind of move on, I had a personal question. What is cupping?
So cupping, that's a great question. So cupping, that was made popular in 2016 in the Olympics. Michael Phelps, you could Google some of his pictures, he had these red circle marks on his shoulder. So what that does is usually for athletes, when you're working back-to-back games or sports or what is, the muscles get worn out. Things are tired. With cupping, we decrease that recovery time by pulling circulation to the muscles. So we improve circulation and healing. So things actually flow. What may take you 2 days to recover will get you back on the court, in half a day.
So it's like an actual cup that they put
in? It's like an actual cup. It's a suction cup. You put in, and so it's also like Chinese medicine.
Okay.
Yeah. And you will see where they put these cups, and sometimes they light fire under those cups and they put it underneath you, and you have these little welts, circular welts on your skin. Wow. So there are two functions of cupping: muscle recovery, but a lot of people with pain issues. You may have some pain that's unresolved and you just can't figure out, what's going on there. So when you come and see me, when we do your full assessment, I try to decide and pick what exactly is going to be really, really good for you. And everybody needs cupping at some point, but you have to experience it to know how good it feels.
Awesome. And another quick question before we move on: what is dry needling with therapeutic exercises?
Yes, so dry needling, that is a different form of acupuncture. That's my best way to describe it, but it is not acupuncture. Okay. So we use the same microfilament needles we use in acupuncture, but people come to us with pain. For example, I had a back pain patient who had been to a lot of other therapists and they just couldn't resolve it. She had been going for months and she came in frustrated. She actually came in to see Dr. Anise, and she referred her, said, why don't you just see my husband? Let me see what he can do for you. And on her first session, we used these drying like acupuncture and we put it in the back. So we put those through the muscles and we desensitize it. So it's almost like we move it and hit on those nerves and say, hey, why are you firing so much? I need you to calm down. So that's the best way to describe it. And you get instant relief with that.
Is it hurt? Does the needle hurt?
It can, it's a needle.
I mean, okay.
It can, but
Needle, so you know, finding
right.
a relief with that, I would really have a hard time.
Yeah, but it's that's based on skill level.
Okay.
You know, so it's, think about it like you're giving an injection as a nurse. Okay. If the nurse doesn't know what she's doing with the needle and she's trying to give an IV,
that's fair.
Yeah, that's gonna hurt.
Okay.
You know, but this is very skilled. Like you have to really know what you're doing. It requires extra training besides what we normally do. And knowing the proper anatomy of the body in detail. So circulation, then also knots, like a lot of shoulder knots. A lot of guys that come to me for shoulder issues with bench press, usually we get it in there and give them relief so they can run back to do what they do best. So.
Okay, cool. Thank you guys. Thank you so much for that.
Oh, you're welcome.
Now back to Ms. Kim. I had a few questions for you since we're gonna kind of enter early into the questions here. So what are some of the challenges and strategies that you've kind of found out that you found successful for you to run a beauty product line as a Black-owned business?
What type of challenges I've run into?
Challenges, and then what, on top of challenges, what good strategies have you found work for you to successfully release a product line as a Black-owned business?
Well, I think that, you know, the challenges that you run up against, one are, you know, your normal challenges in business that you come up against, you know, sourcing products, you know, finding the right team members, you know, all of those things that are regular in business. And then when you layer the, you know, being a Black-owned business, then there is different things that, you know, challenges that I ran into, like raising capital or making sure, you know, you have the right network and all that kind of stuff that you might come up against, you know, bias. I mean, you know, all those different things still, you know, reign true in our industry. And the beauty industry had, you know, it's really run and owned by old white men. And so, you know, you're talking about beauty products that you're using and somebody who looks nothing like you, knows nothing about what you're doing. If you look at a lot of the big companies, the president, the CEO is an old white man. Mm-hmm. And so just imagine, you know, Black women, period, spend 9 times more on beauty products. Mm-hmm. Women of color spend 80% more on cosmetics than white women do. So you're talking about a dominating consumer, but does not have decision-making sort of level positions. And there's a recent campaign that's out called Pull Up for Change, where, you know, companies are disclosing who's in their C-suite and all that on their executive level and all of those kind of different things. So all of that plays a part in the hurdles and the challenges that I run into. But knowing that at the same time, the challenges also won't block the fact that I also have really good insight. So the fact that we're talking about the consumer that spends 80% more, and I know her intimately, and I ran a makeup shop and was with women for 14 years, day in and day out, then the insight that I have is one that gives me the cutting edge at the same time. So, you know, that's how I like to look at it. Sometimes you might have a challenge, but, you know, at the same time, you might have the cutting edge information that others, you know, just can't even go to school to find out. You have to be in there and get the experience and understand it. And that's what, you know, I get to have from my experience of running that makeup store and traveling all across the world, literally, helping women revere their beauty and understanding how things work for their skin. I'm a licensed esthetician. So, you know, when you talk about knowing what's best for the skin and all of that. That's my category. But yeah, like I don't want to go over a laundry list of challenges that I've faced. But you know, you could just imagine if 0.006% of women of my skin tone, Black women, raise 0.006% raise venture capital, and venture capital is how you grow a high growth company, and that's what I'm on the trajectory of doing. Then you understand that I run up against all kind of challenges, but I'm doing it anyway, because I know this consumer well, I understand it. And to be honest, last year's Black, you know, the unfortunate execution and murder of George Floyd brought this awakening to some people, and that made it so people started to shine a light on Black-owned businesses. And one of the challenges that I faced was, you know, getting inside of larger retailers. Well, there's a 15% pledge that's out that says that retailers are signing a pledge that they're going to dedicate 15% of their shelf space to Black-owned businesses, because of the movement that happened last year. And those kind of things help our business. There's a really interesting data point that came out. 4%, regularly 4% of high-end makeup sales are done by Black-owned businesses, 4%. And I have a high-end makeup line. My brand is Prestige. You have mass, which you would find like in Walgreens or CVS or something like that. And then you have prestige brands, and that are found probably like in department stores, things like that, online. We only usually make up 4% of sales. During the months of June, July, August, we actually outperformed our counterparts by 4 times what their sales were in the same category. So when you shine a light on us, when you try our products, when you actually see that, you know, same, you know, better quality in most cases. We manufacture our products right here in Houston on the north side near Bush Intercontinental Airport. And so when you find out, it's like the quality is there, all of that is there. So when you shine a light on us and you actually give us access and exposure, then we can compete and even beat the rest.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Now I have another question for you. What is your outlook on businesses that focus on quote unquote clean beauty products targeted to people with Black skin?
Well, I welcome it. I mean, we need it. I think my co-panelists here, they were just, you know, talking about, you know, I must have played a recording for my husband, because my husband is going to be all over them, because he's all about, you know, this is the man that wakes up at 4 o'clock in the morning to go watch the sunrise for 5. I mean, you know, this is my husband. And so this is the person who, you know, does yoga, you know, okay, this is him.
He does
okay?
the things. He does all the things.
He does all the things. Okay. He does all the things, and he believes in holistic healing, and he won't let me say nothing bad out of my mouth, period. Okay. He monitors every word that comes out of my mouth. And so he's like, if it's not uplifting, then don't say it. Okay. So I just have to think it sometime, Lord. But I say that to say that when you talk about clean beauty, we are so underserved in clean beauty. So, and that's the reason why I'm in the game. We are actually going to be launching at the largest beauty specialty retailer later this summer at Ulta, and we'll be the first clean beauty brand that's Black owned going inside of their store. And I welcome it. I want them to have products for us that are not toxic and not hurting us. But you know, they're not doing it. So yeah, they're not doing it.
What do you feel like are some of the reasons why? Do you think it's because of a price point, or the other brands have just been there longer? Like, why do you think people have been using these more toxic brands? Is it just because the consumer doesn't know? Like, what are you
talking about the manufacturer, the people who are making it, the companies, or the consumer?
Both sides, but more so the manufacturer.
Yeah, the manufacturer, I mean, it's the same reason why the mortality rate for Black women in this country is at an alarming rate. It's the same reason why Black women are dying of breast cancer higher than other women. It's the same reasons. It's all interconnected. That's the reason why, you know, we are all activists in our own right, because just resisting the way that they want things to go is a form of activism. And so it's the same reason why. So they don't care. and that's what kind of matters there. For the consumer, same thing we talked about conventional medicine. It's the same thing, conventional makeup. It's the same thing all the way across the board with different things. And we just trust what we think is right. You guys made it. You put it on the market. We thought it was right. We put baby powder on for years, and then it's like we thought it was right. How could it not be right? Every child got Johnson's baby powder for their baby shower. How is it not right? Right. So that's the issue. So the consumer only, you know, I have a lot of compassion for the consumer because the consumer is thinking that the big guys or whoever is producing this product would do the right thing. But that's why you're seeing a huge shift. And we even think about our own selves, a huge shift, you know, of the way that we buy now. Like I don't just buy some big box brand anymore. I gotta know the founder. I gotta be seeing where it came from. You know, don't sell me a peach that y'all made in the Philippines, and I don't know how long it took to get over here, and you know, all that kind of stuff, right? Like we think about all of that stuff now, you know, and so that's the things that matter. And I think that's where, as consumers, we're starting to, you know, figure that out. We're like, oh, they're not doing the right thing they're not doing right by us.
Yeah. Now, you said earlier that you started your company at Sharpstown Mall. Shout out to Sharpstown.
Yeah.
And then you said you spent some time at not spent some time, but you went to school in Clark, Atlanta. So explain to me your initial journey starting a business at Sharpstown, because I remember going to Sharpstown in high school and I was like, I'm from Sugarland. I'm like, okay. I'm gonna come here once a year. I'm gonna get what I need to, and then I'm gonna take my ass back to, I'm gonna take myself back to where I came from. So yeah, tell me your journey is about, and your stories about Sharpstown, if you have any good ones, and then just starting a makeup line at Sharpstown, and then kind of continuing and growing your network at Clark, Atlanta.
Yeah, if it wasn't for Sharpstown, you know, I probably wouldn't be here right now. I would not be here. So with tragedy, a lot of times comes triumph for somebody else sometimes, right? When I opened up at Sharpstown, it was in 2004. Yeah. Girl, it was so funny. Like the first couple of months I was there, like it was like it had to be like the first month I was there. First of all, they didn't want to lease to me. They put me in a part of the mall that was like abandoned with no stores around it because they thought I was going to fail. And so I remember getting a letter in the mail, and it was for a career day. And I was like, oh, I'll go to the career day. You know, no big deal. I wasn't even looking at the address. I start driving to the place and I was like, wait, this is looking familiar. Literally off of Beach Nut. Oh, wow. I'm like driving up to the alternative school that I went to when I got kicked out of high school. Wow. And I go inside, I'm thinking I'm being like punked or something, some type of prank is happening. And I'm like, what? Do you guys know I went here? And they were like, no, you went to the school? And I was like, yes. And they were like, oh, we didn't know. They just invited me because kids from the school have been going to Sharpstown. So you talk about Sharpstown and, you know, the environment that it was in, right? Yeah. It was a little rough, but that's because, you know, kids from our alternative school went there. All of us went there. Some of us went there for the wrong reasons to go pick up. We didn't pay for it. But they would go there and they saw what my business was, and they actually put me down to be invited for the career day. Wow. Because they wanted to they wanted to do makeup. Wow. And those are the kind of things that happen to let you know, you're on the right track. Right. Wow. And so I was there. They took me around the whole school and I talked to everybody. It's like, she went here. She has a business now, like.
Look, she made it. Look at God.
Yeah, look at her. Right. And that gave me a lot of motivation to make that business succeed, because nobody was coming inside my store. It wasn't any social media. Nobody cared about a Black-owned business, like, to try to succeed. You know, people are looking over me like, oh, I'm not like, I am not buying that from you. Like, I'll go over here to this department store or whatever. But there were some women who did believe, and I built those relationships with women, and we did make it. And Katrina happened. And that's why I talk about tragedy too, because in 2005, Katrina happened. Everybody remember Katrina?
Yes.
Hurricane Katrina happening? That accelerated our business. That made our business.
Wow.
All of those people being inflected, everybody, they loved Sharpstown Mall.
Wow.
And so that made our business happen. Wow. And that carried us, and the mall ended up going into bankruptcy before I did. Oh. And I ended up moving to River Oaks. I opened up a store in River Oaks. And yes. Yeah. So they thought I was gonna fail, but they might have should have been checking their own books, right? And figured that out. Look, I'll say that with a little humble brag. Praise the Lord. But yeah, so that's what happened. I had to move and all of that. But Sharpstown was the lit situation for me at the time. I was so grateful. Women really came in and supported it. I had, you know, I definitely had some situations with the environment and all of that, and some people would not come. I remember having some customers tell me, "I'm not coming to Sharpstown to come see you, girl. Like, tell me when you move." And but you know, we made it, and we did end up moving. But you know, don't despise your humble beginnings at all.
Awesome. Now I'm gonna move. I'm gonna do a small little shift to the open eyes. So either Eze or Agozi, what is meant by wellness, and how does it differ to our understanding of health?
So I mean, if you want to, a lot of these days, people just intermix a lot of these words. So a lot of times it's like what it means to the person, right? But health is just your state of well-being. You know, there's good health, you're in good health, you're in great health, you're in bad health. So health is just like the state that your usually physical body is what people associate that with. But really it's supposed to be your mental, emotional, spiritual system all together is your state of health. Now, wellness is more like when we're talking about good health and great health and feeling good, you know, then we talk about wellness. And so I guess wellness is just more specific to actually like a good state of health, where people feel good overall in terms of all aspects, as I mentioned, emotional, mental, and the physical, because there's people that look great and their physical health is great, but mentally and emotionally, they're completely not doing well. And so that's what they mean by wellness, is to have all that in complete, you know, what they call it, alignment of, you know, being well. That's what I'm saying.
Now, in your bio, you mentioned that you are a functional medicine trained practitioner. Explain to me what that is.
So what functional medicine, it's been out there for a while now, but what functional medicine focuses on is addressing the root cause of what's going on with someone. There's people, and I gave that, if you watch the video on my website, I talk especially about like hypertension. Some people might have hypertension, but it's because of the way they deal with stress chronically that has elevated their blood pressure, and that habit in the body caused that issue. It's not, okay, you have hypertension, here's a blood pressure pill. So we go down to the root cause of whatever is going on with people. You know, people have, you know, premenstrual problems or hormonal imbalances, and you just get, you know, birth control pills or whatever after they do your lab testing. Well, are you more sensitive to certain foods? Is it the hormones in the chicken and the meats that they're injecting them with that is causing that we need to take out of your diet? So functional medicine is about getting to the root cause. If you go on the Institute of Functional Medicine, I think they still have this cartoon up where the water's leaking from the faucet, right? And what all the other like branches of medicine are doing is they're scooping the water out constantly. They take a little tape and put it on the pipe, you know, and functional medicine actually goes and digs in to see what part of the pipe and the tap is broken. And we actually put that back in place versus just, you know, pouring the water out constantly or putting a little tape over it. Like we actually find that and fix it. So that's what functional medicine tries to do. And it tries to do that naturally. So using more natural supplements and lifestyle interventions, that's functional medicine.
So is that similar to holistic medicine?
Holistic medicine, in a way, see, this is where things start to change. Holistic medicine is kind of replacing conventional way. You come, you have a cough or a cold, and they give you a natural remedy for it. They don't address the root cause of it. That's different. And so that's why I have this, okay, holistic, everybody, how are you addressing the issue? Are you just because there's supplements for blood pressure issues.
Okay.
Are you just converting them to take something that's just holistic without addressing the root cause that could actually stop them from even needing any of that stuff in the first place?
Okay.
So that's what holistic means. So you're addressing it naturally. Functional medicine actually goes to the root cause to figure out what's really, where does that stem from?
So naturopathic and holistic are more aligned as opposed to functional medicine, correct?
I mean, you could say that. You could say that. When you talk about natural and holistic, that's all in the realm of using natural remedies and doing things naturally and holistically.
Okay.
Functional medicine is more about delving into the root cause while still doing that.
Okay, cool. Now you also mentioned in your bio, or I mentioned in your bio, you're a certified medical intuitive. What does that entail?
So intuitive medicine, that's the thing that's evolving now. And I'll give you an example with this pandemic that came, which is why people are saying there's an evolution taking place that people haven't understood yet. And you see someone, they look relatively healthy and they get hit by the virus and they're completely down. And you're like, okay, what does that mean? Or even now with the vaccines where some people are getting side effects versus others that aren't. And so intuitive medicine is taking into account the person's unique biology and energy system in terms of what actually is in alignment for that person. It's not going to be the same for every person. It's going to be different. Like there's some people where they're so sensitive, they need more homeopathic remedies or they need more natural herbs versus using the actual natural supplements, nutraceuticals. But intuitive medicine addresses the person's unique biology. And as a certified medical intuitive, what we do is we're able to read energetics on a person to see how their body's out of balance, their organs, what they need, what they don't need. If this supplement that you get, even though they're both magnesium, which one can I feel is more in alignment that's going to work well for you? Because not all supplements are created equal, but also not all people are created the same. So what might work for one person might not work for you. So that's what intuitive medicine hones that in to make it unique to that person's biology and that person's energy.
So you mentioned energetics, and in your bio it says energy medicine practitioner, and you can kind of like read that person's energy. Now, how would you go about doing that, and how would metaphysics, how would that be incorporated into that as well?
Wow, that's like a whole training process to explain a lot of that stuff to people. Yeah. So when we talk about physics, it's a lot about what we see, a lot of the tangible stuff. Metaphysics is about the physics that we don't really see. Like when you have your emotion, when you feel happy, when you feel sad, when you cry, people can't see it, right? But you can feel it, the way you think, the way your mind functions. There's a whole energy behind that. And Einstein actually alludes to a lot of this type of stuff when he talks, but people don't realize it. But that's what metaphysics is about. It's all that extra, that energy out there that we don't really see, but the study of it, which when Kim talked about her husband saying, let nothing bad come out of her mouth, we don't realize the vibrations you speak, the words coming out of your mouth, especially the stuff we listen to, it plays a big role in what happens to your own body that produces that sound. And that's why it said, and I'm not very religious, I'm spiritual, but man will not live by bread alone, but by what comes out of his mouth. That is metaphysics. And people don't tie a lot of that stuff in, but that is also big in your health, because what you say and what you speak resonating out from you as a physical human, but you're also a being, will also affect you. So it's the study of that. And there's people that you will find, because of the way they speak, has actually influenced the state of their health. And when you start reversing and working on that, the state of their health gets better. And that's what I mean by energy medicine and metaphysics. We're not just going to pick one supplement here and this here. When you come in to see us, we study all those things about you to say, even though we think you need these supplements, you need these detoxifications because of toxins in your body and all this going on, you also have these habits with the way you think, the way you process, the way you take energy in, and we give them exercises for those things. So it's not just physical exercises that we think we need to do to keep our bodies fit, But one thing that's been ignored is the mental and emotional, energetic exercises, which Chinese medicine, India, Ayurvedic medicine, they've kept this whole time. But we in our own culture, especially as in America, but also Africa, we have lost those exercises that we do that's supposed to bring all that into alignment.
So how do you feel that mental health relates into that, as far as seeing a therapist, as far as really just kind of fixing the things that are already in your mental space? How do you feel like that? I would assume that would help with functional medicine and with the energy. How do you feel like that takes part?
I mean, it all helps. So, but everything helps. The issue I think that happens is when people look at things as a separate entity from getting well and feeling better. One person is taking the mental aspect and dealing with it, and then they don't tie that connection into the actual physical disease that's happening with the person. So it helps. But if you're not aware of the connection, it's going to hinder your healing process or put a limit on your healing process.
Okay.
So it all helps.
So everything like in moderation.
Everything in moderation, but also tying it in all together and going to the people that understand the unity of that when they do work with you. I try to do my best. I do my best to put it all together for people, but I do know when it's a little bit more extensive and I say, okay, I need you to go see this person that's also in alignment with this type of work that can be more specific with a lot more of the mental work that you need to do, but also having them come back watching for improvements and also tying that into what's going on with them physically.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much for that.
Mm-hmm.
Now moving on to your husband for a little bit. So I have a quick question for you. So why do you think it's hard for most people to attain fitness goals? Do you think it's dedication, motivation? What do you think are some of the issues people run into with fitness goals?
Yeah, so you mentioned two things. That plays a factor in it, but there are a lot of different things. Like for instance, when people want to get fit, they always go into this absolute plan. I'm gonna cut this out, cut this out, cut this out, cut this out. How realistic is that? We're not perfect. Let's just start with that. So you're not God, and you think you're gonna be able to cut it out long term, but no, that's not gonna happen. At some point, if you're going with the absolute plan, you're going to find yourself heading in a direction where you're going to crash. So I always tend to tell a lot of my patients who come in, 85% is good enough. What I mean by 85% is good enough is you got to leave yourself a little room. And that 15% doesn't mean you go all out and knock yourself out with your diet or whatever the case may be. But if you're doing 85%, think about that grade even when you're in school. 85% got you to where you are. You don't have to be perfect, but if you make a long-term life change, you're going to see that over time. So there's no, I got to get that 100%. No, I ate this, everything is falling apart. Now, the biggest thing is gut health. I talk about gut health is a lot of people don't know this. We don't take care of our guts properly. From over the time we're younger, we eat a lot of things that may have, our bodies may not agree with. So as we get older, we tend to, well, I can't lose weight. Everything's hard. This, or whatever the case may be. And honestly, some people do try really, really hard. And that's where we come into the picture of, especially in our practice of educating people about the gut and the root cause. And that you hear that over and over again. You always hear that word to go back to the root cause. But one thing about gut health is if your gut is not digesting your food properly, you could be taking in the proper amount of protein, carbs, fats, but you're not absorbing it. So what happens is this is going to those cells in your body and getting stored in those fat cells. Your organs, you're building up toxins, and that's where you see that cellular detox in my bio. And those toxins are blocking the pathway that would allow you to have a direct path to heal yourself, like to digest the food, for your body to take in the nutrients it needs to. But ultimately, the gut is where everything starts. So weight loss is a big thing, especially with the gut. When you heal the gut, you don't even, that 85% might be like 75% or even 65%. But you start to notice you feel great, you tend to lose a lot of weight more easily. But that's just going more into detail. Let me not get off track. And that's also very specific to the person. Like when the reason why we have a combined practice, when you come in and see my wife, she usually sits down with you for almost 2 hours, going in detail over your mental, emotional. Then with our bioscan, we go into the very, very deep detail of it. But that is, we try to find out what is going on and why you're not getting to where you are. Now that's getting more into the detail of losing the medical side of trying to lose the weight. Now there's of course the other part you talked about, the motivation, the purpose. Kim mentioned meditation. That is such a big factor. Just your mental, emotional, your spiritual self, just being in the right frame of mind to do such a thing, and not crucifying yourself because something is falling apart or you ate something that's wrong and you beat yourself down. And this is something my wife always tells me, be careful of the words you speak about yourself, because those words, your body hears itself. And if you say, I can't lose weight, this is not working, that's your body hears that so well. And you'll say, well, I guess we're on that pathway today. And you just pick that path and you find yourself going down that route.
I mean, let me touch on that a little bit. I mean, basically, the thing with weight loss is like everything else. People are focused more on the physical aspect of it and the physical goal of it. And if you ask anyone who is probably on maybe more mature or wise, would you rather feel good or look good? If you know what it is like to actually look good and not feel good, you're not going to pick the wrong option. And so part of it with the weight loss thing is it's not just the physical. There's so many things that hinder process on the physical level. We talked about the gut health. We talked about toxins, or your mental and emotional state and how you approach it. A lot of things with the way you do has to change. And so when we're talking detox, it's not just physical toxins. It's about the habits that you have on the mental and emotional level that you need to ditch. We call that like bye, Felicia, to your own, you want to tell bye to people? No, it's you. There's things within you that need to get ditched in that process. And that's what part of the things that hinder your progress. So it's identifying those things on the mental and emotional level as well. And as well as the physical, because the gut health is a big deal. That can hinder your progress with weight loss. People are constantly fasting when they don't know that they're chronically stressed bodies. All it does is the minute you fast, when you go eat, it absorbs 90% of the calories because you stressed it out even more and it's in stress mode. And that's when you do things like yoga and meditation and the body relaxes. And then you go to actually eat and the body says, she's relaxed. I don't need to absorb all these calories. I'll take 20%. I'm good. And then I've seen people just from adding yoga and actually cutting down on the exercise, they will lose weight. So again, people have to, and that's what I mean by this pandemic. One thing everybody needs to take away from all this is you need to know who you are and how you function. All the information out there is going to be good, but it's not going to tell you about who you are. And that's what we help you figure out.
So I have a question. I have a question for you and for your husband. So first, your husband mentioned gut health. How do you feel like gut health is related to, as far as people that are vegans or veganism? Do you think people that are vegans, how do you think that their success level as far as working out and health? I would assume because you're being more conscious of what you're eating, that they have better success rates as opposed to people that, don't have.
I don't know that I could quote statistics on it. Plant-based whole foods, statistically, these are the people that do very well. You're eating whole foods. So being a vegan, people are not necessarily healthy if you're eating more processed foods.
Okay.
And when you're deep frying everything and calling it, I'm eating vegan, you're not going to get better either, because the frying in of itself, even with the vegetables, causes inflammation that worsens your gut health. But you will find a lot of vegans that are doing more plant-based foods, and really more whole food plant-based statistically is where you see the improvement. So would I say for people to go vegan? I mean, you don't have to, but would I say eat 80 to 90% more plants and make sure most of those are whole plants that are healthy, organic plant food? Then yes.
Okay, and then you also mentioned intermittent fasting. Now, I know a lot of people that have been successful losing weight with intermittent fasting. I tried it myself a few years ago, and I did really well with it. But how do you feel like how do you, with intermittent fasting, people lose a lot of weight with it. How is it, you were mentioning like when you're stretching your body out with fasting, how is that a detriment if you were to losing weight with fasting?
But again, go ahead.
So with intermittent fasting, it's good. I intermittent fast. We both do. We just don't do it all the time. The point is to identify, within yourself, okay, this is a good day to fast. What did I do the previous day? What was my work week like? What do I have scheduled? Like, you have to think ahead. You can't go on 2 hours of sleep. I'm like, well, today I'm supposed to fast today. Yeah, you probably get through it, but your body, you'll be wrecking inside of your body because your stress hormones, your adrenals, everything's shooting through the roof.
Especially for women.
And especially, like I said, especially for women. Like, I fast way more than she does, just because the male biology is a little different, so we can handle it more. So I would do it a lot more than her, but it works as long as you're paying attention to your stress levels, what's going on inside your body. And on a side note, a good example is a lot of these bodybuilders that usually go to shows. I know a lot of them, they take a lot of protein shakes, supplements, they look great. How do they feel? They could pass out or die any moment. When they come to see us, or for any reason when they scan, they look like a corpse, like on the inside. It's just beyond, it's true. On the inside.
It's not something to do long term. So the point is, so if you think about intermittent, this is how I talk to people about it. If you read through almost every religion out there, there's some form of fasting that was put in place. And part of that was because also the detox effect, cellular renewal that occurs when you do intermittent fasting. Now, the problem with it, just like yoga and everything is out there, people then get into a regimented way about it, and they don't pay attention to who they are and how they should do it for themselves. There's people that haven't done it at all and it works. And depending on how often you do it, it works for you. And so, especially when it's the first time you do, now there are people that have been doing it for a long, and I see this all the time. They've been doing it forever. They hit their 40s or their 50s where the hormones are changing, and you flatline out, it's not working anymore. And all that stuff you did, the intermittent fasting, especially if you were very severe about it, I did that to myself, and your hormones will get out of place. Then you have to backtrack a little bit and get the body to relax through it, especially when you keep forcing it. Again, what are you telling your body when you're intermittent fasting? Are you in alignment? Are you completely relaxed? Like, well, I got to do this because I got to maintain my weight, because I got to do this with my weight. And there's all these other mental and emotional benefits that you have to talk to your body in terms of taking care of it and not force it into these regimented phases. So intermittent fasting is great. I mean, it has been proven to reverse even diabetes, right? And all sorts of ailments, but it's how you do it and how it's suited to your own level of stress in your environment.
Okay. So I have another question for you all, for you and your husband. Why aren't we hearing more about toxins in conventional medicine? And where do toxins come from? How can we eliminate them or reduce our exposure to them?
It's not taught in medical school.
Yeah, and one thing about toxins is, so I'll give you an example, then I'll let her elaborate because that's more of her specialty. But speaking about toxins, think about all the pills that they give people for diabetes, metformin, the glipizide, the hypertension. All those pills have fillers. There's some medication in it, the rest are fillers. The fillers, the preservative in that capsule that's going to keep that long-term on the shelf. That doesn't belong in your body. You're going to take that over time to keep your hypertension down, 3-4 years. All those fillers get stored in your cells. What are they doing? They're not supposed to be there. They're causing cancerous effects, changing your DNA, slowing down your metabolism, causing you thyroid issues. You're getting slow. You're not moving. You're tired. You're like, I don't understand why. I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. I'm taking my medication. So when they come to us and they say, well, you need a detox, we're like, oh, I bought some shakes. I'll go there and I'll go a juice cleanse. We're like, no, it's on a cellular level. All those toxins over the years have gone and stored into your cells. So we need to cleanse that out. And that's where you talk about the toxins. Another example may be someone working at a plant. one of these industrial plants for years. And over the time, they've been exposed to all these chemicals. They don't even know what's going on. All of a sudden, they tell me they have cancer. Why? They picked up all these toxins over the years in their body, and they're not doing anything to get rid of it. They're active because they're having to do a lot of manual labor, and they may be eating right, but all of a sudden they're like, well, I don't understand why I'm sick.
Right. I mean, so toxins it's a big umbrella for just whatever is in your body that's not meant to stay in your body. If you think about when you eat a banana and then there's the peel and you throw that out, you put it in garbage. Your body on a cellular level does the same thing. You take things in it, process it. There's always rubbish that needs to get out. And you're not only making that from what you eat, when you drink water that's polluted, the plastics that come out from the bottles in the water, I mean, the environment, what you breathe in, some of the pesticides they use in spraying in the air also adds on to the toxins in the body, but also on the emotional and mental level, unhealthy emotions will cause inflammation in the body, and that will also rev up the toxic buildup. So that's what toxins are. When the cells are working, there's byproducts that need to go in the trash. And a lot of times with the way the body is, the way we eat, the way we handle stress, when you're stressed out, the body is not thinking, I need to open up my cells and get rid of all these toxins. It's thinking, I'm stressed out right now. I need to do a lot more things to preserve myself. So all that is shut down. Your detoxing capacities are shut down. Your liver from eating if you're eating fatty foods, fried foods, the wrong oils, your liver is a detox organ. That's shut down. It's not detoxing the toxins the way it's supposed to. The kidneys, you're not drinking enough water. While we make up our makeup is 80% water. We need to flush the body out 3 to 5 liters of, if there's one thing you want to take away from today, drink at least 3 to 5 liters of water, clean water every day. You will detox, okay? But I'm saying, so those are the things that are supposed to be in place to help with removing toxins. So we're constantly creating toxins in our body, which is part of the reason why there's intermittent fasting that has been recommended in a lot of the religious societies. But the environment and our society and the food has changed. There's a lot more toxins and pollutants out there that we're taking in. And we have not gotten to the point where we've taken into account this detox lifestyle, I tell people, where with all the stuff we take in and all the stress we deal with, we have to put things in place where we have to remove those things from the body so the body maintains a natural state of health. And then the body is able to regulate its own, that's when the body can respond and heal itself better. When there's toxins loaded up in the body can't respond. And that's why we do a detox first with people, because when we take all those things off and the body's in its own natural state, the body can heal itself and you let the body do what it needs to do.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that. I'm going to pose that same question to Kim.
Yeah.
What do you think? Why aren't we hearing more about toxins as far as makeup is concerned, or even medicine? And where do you think toxins come from, and how do we eliminate or reduce our exposure to it?
Yeah, I've so enjoyed hearing the doctors Abaya speak. The one thing I would add, oh my gosh, I felt so good being here. Does anybody else feel good? Put it in the chat if you feel good. This is some good information. Put it in the chat. Let us know. Victoria, how you feeling? Tolu, what's going on? Tony, Daddy, what's going on? Put it in the chat. How you feeling? Oh man, even this conversation is making us feel good because the awareness is so vital. It's not even the way they explain it. What I love about them is it's not even scary, right? It's just like, it feels good. It feels like, man, yeah, Rita say, whoop, whoop. Abby clapping it up. Yeah, tell us how you feel. The one thing I would add just from that conversation, it just reminded me the thing I've been doing lately, because I did a test on my body because I was having inflammation and some swelling, and sleep was the remedy. Sleep was the remedy. I mean, literally, my leg was not swelling up no more, like literally sleep. I started tracking my sleep. One night I got 10 hours of sleep. I woke up for like a whole new woman. And then the next night I got 8 hours, and this kind of thing. And I say that because this week, like Dr. Abaya said, sometimes you'll be 85%. This week I'm more like 50 because I really felt like y'all was stepping on my toes because I ain't ate all day, okay? And that goes back to what you blame things on. I remember when I used to work in the store, and if I didn't eat all day, I blamed it on having a whole bunch of customers. Oh, I got all these customers, that's why I didn't eat. But it's really a mental thing. No, you didn't eat because you chose not to eat. I've been at home all day working. I chose not to eat. Now I can blame it on everything I had to do and all of that, but I still made a choice, and so this week has not been the best health week for me, but at least I identified and I know it, because I know that I hadn't gotten the amount of sleep that I know I can optimize on. Sleep is my secret weapon. I believe in sleep. I congratulate myself. So if you see me happy online, or you see me creating a video and I'm like, man, I just feeling myself, it's because I didn't got 8 hours. Like, I'm feeling it. I'm so happy I got to sleep. That's my new success factor. Some people look at their numbers at the end of the week. I look at how much sleep I got. That's my success factor. Because I know wealth without health ain't gonna do nothing for you. I believe in that. So sleep is the thing that I would add on to the conversation, because I notice my inflammation change based on my sleep. And sometimes you think you're hungry and you're just sleepy, and you end up snacking. I mean, sleep just helps a lot, and goes into everything that they talked about around the body healing itself, and being able to do that. In regards to makeup, and to be honest, if we wanted, makeup with nothing in it, it would be like food that you put, that you buy, and after a couple of days, organic food, you can't eat it anymore, right? Like, you growing food out of your garden, once you pull it up, once it's ready, it's a certain amount of time you have to eat it. If really we want to makeup seriously, like with nothing in it, it would have nothing in it and it wouldn't last. That's the reason why you're actually starting to see the trend with skincare, people having refrigerators for their skincare products, because true natural ingredient, organic ingredient stuff cannot last forever. And so that's a behavior that we actually have to get out of. So I'm actually, and it's very hard, because I might not get rich off of it. I might not get rich off of trying to teach my clients that they can't keep makeup for 5-10 years. Because Rita's like me, you're supposed to get rid of your mascara after 2 months. But people don't want to hear that. People are like, I bought that mascara for $25. I'm going to keep it. I ain't use it all. I still got some in the tube. That ain't got nothing to do with how long it lasts, right? And so I'm actually having to do a lot of education around, yes, I could talk about the toxins in the product, but let's just bring it all the way micro. Let's just talk about, you're keeping your makeup too long, so toxins are building up just right there. Like, even before we even get into the ingredients and all that other kind of stuff, right? It's certain behavioral things that we're doing that we're having to teach different behavior. And like what the doctors talked about, is really talking about different behavior. Like, all of this, what I'm hearing from this conversation is, if I just want to rid some toxins, I don't have to go and just revolutionize my life. I might just have to change some behaviors that I have, that'll change the toxins that I receive in my body, in my mind, in my spirit. And so that's how I look at it. Also, I just want to add on something else that's really is really toxic for us, that some of us are unaware of. So I'm gonna bring it up. Is the black market makeup, counterfeit makeup. This is very dangerous right now, and this is a huge trend. I was at a gas station in the Houston Galleria area getting my gas, and I usually don't do that. That's usually my husband's job. But I was out there because I was, I ran up on that E real quick, not preparing for the week. And I was at the gas station, and this guy walked up to me and said, "Oh, I got that MAC makeup." I'm like, "What you talking about?" He said, like, I got them Louis Vuitton purses like that. Like, like, I got that MAC makeup. I'm like, "What you talking about?" And he like, I got that, and I got that MAC makeup. So he on the street selling MAC makeup. I know he can't be selling people makeup. He's not an authorized seller at the gas station, walking up to me. And I'm not talking about in the gas station. I'm talking about at the gas station. You know how the hookup man walk up to you on the block? That's how he walked up to me, tell me he gonna sell me some makeup. Abby, how is he gonna sell me some makeup? What kind of makeup? Do you think, it's only two things happen. Either he stole the makeup,
That part.
but I'm gonna tell you what he really did, because this is what most people are doing. is he got the makeup from overseas, from counterfeit, and it's counterfeit makeup, just like you make counterfeit purses, just like that Gucci purse that you bought for $100 ain't no real Gucci purse. It's the same situation. This is counterfeit makeup they're making, and when a brand gets really big, they start to counterfeit the makeup. And we talk about it's one level of toxins. The beauty industry is not regulated, so we can put whatever in the makeup we want, pretty much. And that's the sad part. But then just imagine the black market of that. And there are women telling their stories, and men, on how they ended up in an emergency room, how some researchers did some tests. It's like rat droppings in it and all kind of stuff. I mean, it could be anything in this stuff. They just selling it and putting a name on it. So be very careful when you're on Amazon trying to get your good deal. You need to check who is selling you this product. Right? Who is selling you this product? Don't just check and see, is it the brand? Now, if the brand is selling it, great. But who's selling? If you see somebody's name on there, you don't even know who it is. How did they get these people makeup? Chanel didn't get these people this makeup to sell, right? So just be mindful of that, because we talk about regular toxins and regular products, but there's a black market that's even more rough than that one.
And just to kind of add on to what you're saying, I know people not too long ago used to be injecting Fix-A-Flat into their butt for butt implants, for breast implants. And then they would not end up well, either be in the ER or in the hospital, or be on, what's that? There's a show on E!
Yeah.
You have two surgeons that are fixing your mistake.
Yeah.
You'll end up on a show like that, or you'll be in the hospital. So yeah, just to piggyback off what you're saying, people definitely be careful with what they're putting in their bodies or on their bodies. But I do want to open up the question and answer session to the rest of the members that we have here in our Zoom chat. If anybody has any questions that they want to relay to the doctors or to Ms. Kim, the floor is open. So let's see who is in here. So I don't know if there you go. Abby, do you have any questions?
Sure. So Dr. Obaya, I know I'm saying it wrong. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. And thank you for acknowledging toxins, because I've been paying a lot of attention to health recently after gaining the COVID-19 and trying to lose it and trying to be more healthy. So I've been reading up, and I did JJ Smith's 10-day green smoothie cleanse, which she's talking about cleansing the body of toxins. And a lot of times when I hear the word toxins, I really feel like people are making it up, because I've never heard toxins. And every time I look it up, I can't find any scientific journals that are talking about it. But then you have people who've done it and feel better. Like in her case, she tells you how to cleanse your body of different toxins. She's had mercury before, and she's been able to cleanse that from her body using probably some stuff with doctors and probably some herbal stuff. So my question, I wrote one in the scientific backing for it, but on other supplements, I'm really just taking their word for it and seeing that it can't hurt, so maybe it can help. But what are your viewpoints on supplements as well?
All right, so your first question was about testing, and especially with toxins. And it can get very provider specific based on what they feel works and the system they want to use. And so part of it is also finding someone, when you talk to them, that is in the line that you feel good about going into and you trust their process. Okay, so that's one. Two, there's different testing for a lot of things, especially with functional natural medicine. And so sometimes you walk into a place and you're spending almost $1,000 plus just on testing. Okay, that happens very frequently. And so I'm